All right, Nick, I'm going to say it straight up that my biggest frustration with the Patriots in this game was that they had established against the Bills the week before that they could go big and bully the crap out of any team in the NFL. And instead, what we saw was them trying other ways to win. I love Mac Jones throwing the ball as much as the next guy, but long before the Colts established that they would be able to stop the run, the Patriots continued to come out in 3 receiver sets and hand the ball to Ramondre Stevenson, and it wasn't going anywhere. And they were slow on the adjustments. And then on defense, I saw them stick with this like nickel package against Jonathan Taylor. And look, Kyle Duggar is playing the best ball of his career. There's no question about it. But they were really slow to adjust to say, all right, let's load up and defy Indy to beat us with Carson Wentz.
That's what I was just about to say. We didn't blitz at all.
Yep. Or load up with like a bunch of big bodies in the front seven and say, we're going to take away Jonathan Taylor. We might not even blitz, but let's have Carson Wentz prove to us that he can beat us instead of playing nickel against the best healthy running back in the NFL, bar none.
Yeah. The one thing I think is Carson Wentz is the Ryan Tannehill comparison. Ryan Tannehill without Derrick Henry is Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz cannot do anything. I mean, it's pretty obvious. He can barely even run the ball anymore. He looks like he's got glue on his feet every time he goes to run. Like the Carson Wentz from back in 2015, 2016 on the Eagles, he was unbelievable then. But
for that weird 1 year, that anomaly in his career where he threw no picks and threw a ton of touchdowns before he got hurt, was going to be an MVP candidate. And Frank Reich deserves like the Nobel Prize in coaching for what he did in that season, and then comes around and burns the Patriots' asses. And clearly he's a nemesis now. Like he's a straight up Belichick, like rogues gallery villain, the way like the Joker or the Riddler or whatever, like he's on Belichick's hit list. And the game got ugly, got out of hand. Obviously the Colts were like crazy fired up about this, and it was frustrating to me to see the Patriots not like counter it by saying, all right, we'll get bigger and tougher than them, which I think they could have. Instead they were trying these other ways.
Definitely not Bill. I mean, it might have been Josh's call this week. Who knows? I mean, we come from Buffalo before the bye, and we ran power left and power right.
Right.
And no one turned a page on anything. It was 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 the entire game.
Yeah, the whole time I was screaming for, let's go with 3 tackles and 2 tight ends tight to the formation, and then defy them at their worst to try to stop Stevenson behind a fullback. And you rarely saw it. And it was just, they were playing softball while, the Colts were flying to the ball the entire time, like coming down from the next level and, pinning their ears back and so on. Then they eventually, the Pats did figure it out, but by then it was just kind of too late. And, we'll get into this with our guests, but you have to respect the way that Jones, after a real tough, like 2.5 quarters, didn't fall apart. Like he figured it out, made some spectacular throws upfield, throws where, he was running these like these dig routes like deep and middle and exploiting the middle linebacker and like, keeping him on his toes. And, if he played up, he was hitting him deep. If he played back, he was hitting him up, shallow and getting big gains. And then unfortunately squandered maybe the best game of N'Keal Harry's career. It's certainly the best play of his career, which is damning a guy with faint praise. I mean, that 30, whatever it was, 4-yarder that he threw was spectacular throw, spectacular catch. And we don't even know if Harry's going to be able to play this week because he got his head stoved in on a play that was no flag was thrown. So, we're looking at a Bills game that's crucial that might be without Nelson Aguilar, who also took an unflagged hit to the head, and Harry and Kendrick Bourne. As we're speaking, we don't know whether has to be in the COVID protocol or not, or what. So we might have pretty much Jacoby Myers and Gunnar Olszewski, and that's it.
Slater is going to step up.
Yeah, it's going to have to be your guy, Jonnu Smith.
That's right. Hopefully, Henry did pretty well last game. Couple completions.
Yeah, he's the best red zone tight end threat in the league right now, statistically. If you go by like the analytics, Pro Football Focus or whatever, and you know what, this would be Smith's week.
That is.
By God, we save this tape, my friend, because you've been on this guy all year long, and this may be the week where he finally steps up and earns his pay.
Maybe we'll see the double tight offense like we did back in 09, 010, 11, 12. And we'll see a lot of heavy sets running, and the tight ends are going to be the main targets this week.
Well, we can only hope. And another thing we have hoped for this entire season, and we were finally able to get the scheduling down and get him, was this week's guest, a guy who needs no introduction, so I won't give him one, but Patriots, former quarterback, broadcast guy, does the Bellastrator every week with Belichick,
Boston
20 hours of radio, #1 show in middays in Boston for 20 years running, and also a great guy and a personal friend of yours that we will soon find out has thrown you some spirals that you were good about grabbing in the middle of the night. And and also just generally a great guy. So Nick, thanks very much for everything, and I'm beyond thrilled to introduce this week's guest, Scott Zolak. Let's roll tape. So wait a minute. But before I go any further, I just have to confirm that I can refer to you as Zoe. I'm not really sure that we've established that we're on a first syllable basis.
Yeah, Zoe. Yeah.
So okay, cool. I mean, I know that's what
first syllable or the first syllable means. So.
Yeah, well, but I don't know that we've established that. Like, maybe we should be more formal. I don't want to all of a sudden.
Are we allowed to swear on this? No.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure that we've ever once finished a sentence that didn't have the word "fuck" in it. So go nuts. There's no FCC here. There's no 98.5 bosses telling you what to do. And by the way, your co-host Bertrand is a neighbor of mine. Who?
You're in Hanover?
Yeah, and he has never stopped by. I'm not getting Christmas cards from him, so please admonish him. I'm granted I live in the the tenement version of Hanover. I live in the slums, but the beautiful people like him can stop by. But anyway,
hey, what's up? Hold on. Hey, I'm doing Jerry Thornton's podcast. You're on speaker right now. He lives in Hanover by you, and you've never acknowledged him or stopped by to say hi or anything?
Wait, are we on the podcast now?
Yeah, you're the fucking wait. Start recording right now. Go ahead.
Oh no, we have been.
Oh, you have been. They have been fucking recording. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Is he there now?
He's there right now. Say hi.
Does he want me to go pull up in his driveway?
Do you want him to come over to the driveway and do the podcast with you?
You know what? Sure. Just bring a six-pack.
His kids had COVID like a week ago. They got so much COVID in their fucking house.
Hey, it's better than what I've got. You know what I mean? I'm blowing anthrax spores all over everybody. I'm
on with him and Big Dick Nick right now, so I'm doing their podcast. He just said break Beatles balls because he never stopped by. So make sure you stop by tomorrow, buddy.
I'll swing by.
I got no Christmas card or anything.
Dude, once he shows up, his brother and dad and all them, they don't ever leave, man. They're always there.
Just let him know, don't be surprised that I'm now going to show up at his front door.
Yeah.
He might be porch pirating some of my deliveries.
Porch pirating his deliveries and putting them under the tree for your kids?
Well, I've already donated a number of his Amazon boxes to charity this season. So let him know that he's not
it's probably that shitty book he wrote. What's that? My 5 rings or 6 rings or how many 10 rings? I'm just kidding.
I'm not the only guy who's written a shitty Patriots.
All right, see you,
book.
Beetle. Bye. All right, he's
Oh,
gone.
All right. So as we were about to go on the air, it occurred to me that I'm probably the only guy at Barstool who remembers when you were drafted. Okay, so it was during the Dick McPherson era, right? And
yeah.
Actually a crazy great draft class by the Patriots. They not only had the number one, the offensive rookie of the year, Leonard Russell. They also had and Ben Coates was
Ben Coates, by the way, got drafted after me. Patriot Hall of Famer Ben Coates got drafted after me in the 5th round. I held out for 3rd round money. I had a great player agent, Ralph Sindrich. So that's what's funny. So coming out of Pittsburgh, I was the 2nd ranked player in the state of Pennsylvania, which is a pretty damn big state for football. It was Major Harris who was number 1. Major ended up going to West Virginia that year. I obviously went to Maryland. Browning Nagel went to Louisville. So we had a pretty good class. Dan McGuire, all those guys, Marinovich, going back to that. But Coach Mack wanted me to come to Syracuse. And I took an unofficial visit to Syracuse, and there was 36 fucking inches of snow on the ground. And I said, I'm not going here. I'm not doing it. But I tell you what, they had the dome. They took me to a great diner, and they had double floor townhouses where the players lived, which was pretty impressive to me, which also Maryland had. That's why I love Maryland. Coach Matt calls me on draft day. Hey, Jesus Christ, you wouldn't come to Syracuse, but God damn it, you're mine now. I just drafted you. And I'm like, holy shit, where am I going? It's like I'm going to New England. So I land back in the day when the draft was 12 rounds, way back when. You remember that, Jerry. Nick, you don't remember. You weren't even born yet. How old are you, Nick?
22 now.
Yeah, you didn't remember shit. I was throwing touchdowns, but before you
He
were
doesn't
born.
remember an 8th round. That's how insane that is.
Like
Troy Brown was an 8th round pick. He has no idea that such a thing ever existed.
It's unbelievable. He probably doesn't even know how many times Troy Brown was cut or brought up or back and forth. Yeah. That was another. We'll get to that later. But I was drafted first pick in the 4th round, 84th pick overall, and I go, you got to get to Boston the next day. So this was late April, and you guys know what the weather was like. It was sleet, it was rain. And I remember landing at Logan Airport. There's a guy that still works for the team by the name of Aaron Salkin. He's Stacey James' assistant. Mm-hmm. And he held up a sign. And when I got off the plane in Boston, it was Zollack, Zolak. Totally misspelled my name. I just wanted to duck down and keep walking. But I'm like, shit, I got to get in the car with this guy. It wasn't even a car. It was a white van. So they stuck me in the back of like a white minivan. And I remember passing the old garden. I thought that was cool. But I landed at 5:00 in Logan on a Friday night. And it took probably 3 hours to get to Foxborough. So if you've never been there and you don't know where the hell you're going, 3 hours feels like about 10 hours. So it was raining, sleeting. We finally get to Foxborough, and the windows all fogged up. And Aaron goes, "That's your stadium over there. That's your stadium over there." And it said Foxborough Stadium at the time, was post after the Sullivans had it. And I look and I see the square sign. Remember where that guy got electrocuted by carrying the Monday Night Football game post?
And sued and won, by the way.
So he goes, we'll take a better look at it tomorrow. We're taking you to your hotel. They go down over the hill, and we pull into the End Zone Motor Lodge. And that was the hotel they brought the draft picks to at the time, because at that time, there was no hotels in Foxborough. There wasn't a Residence Inn. There wasn't a Marriott where they stayed. None of that was there. Nothing out by 495. Not even a Renaissance. And I remember checking in, and I smelled chlorine. They said, "You're in a luxury suite. There's a hot tub in it." So I walk in. It's actually a square hot tub in the main suite above it with a rotary dial phone. And I had to call my dad that night. And I'm like, "Yep, Dad, I think I made it. The big time. The National Football League at the End Zone Motor Lodge." Yeah.
And you walk into that stadium that had probably 3/4 the capacity at the one you played at in Maryland, right? And
even high school.
The End Zone Motor Lodge, their slogan was practically syringe free.
Syringe free, yeah. I mean, we shut down on Friday nights in high school. High school, we played in front of 10, 15,000 people under the lights. We never had day games. My dad was my coach. He was the athletic director. He put the first field turf in at my high school. The same high school as Joe Montana, Ken Griffey, Stan the Man Musial. We're talking about a town of 40,000 people, but everything shuts down on Friday night, and that's when you play. And my high school stadium locker room was nicer than the one at Foxborough State.
Amazing. Now, I saw your whole career. What I don't know, because I keeping up with my policy to do zero prep for the show is.
It's like me every day on the radio, by the way. We wing it. Beetle.
It hasn't showed.
Yeah.
I listened to you today, and you called "It's a Wonderful Life" Miracle on 34th Street.
The movie sucked.
I almost drove into the city just to disabuse you of your terrible take that it's not the greatest movie of all time.
Nick,
but
don't both those movies suck, Nick, as Christmas movies.
I don't even think they're Christmas movies.
Thank you. You probably think Die Hard's one. That's okay.
Die Hard is. I'm
gonna turn your mic off. Yep.
Well, what I don't know is how you got from the playing field to broadcasting. Like, was that a thing that you you aspired to? Did you do like the Connecticut School of Broadcasting thing, or did you get recruited to do it? Because you were here for a long time and had a nice high profile and you were popular, but you've been on the air for like 20 friggin' years. And how did you make that leap?
It's a great question. I mean, what did you study in college? Anything we study in college we use in life. So I went to Maryland, and you had to have a 3.8 to get into the business school, like most schools nowadays. It's very competitive. I did not have a 3.8. I had well below that. I went to Maryland 5 years, 5 summers, never graduated. Not proud of that, but I am proud that at one time in the National Football League, we had the only quarterback trio that never graduated: Drew Bledsoe, myself, and Tom Tupa. Tom went to Ohio State, left early, never graduated. I didn't, neither did Drew. But the fact you asked that, I studied agricultural business, which was turf management. So you take all the business classes that you'd normally take in business school, but you got to go to a turf farm about twice a semester. So I know how to grow fucking grass. I got the best grass out front. I mean, it's like you could putt on the back. I could play 18 on my other side. Never have crabgrass, never have grubs. I know when to put the grub control down. But that's funny because I always wanted to study communications. My mom said, there's no jobs in that. You can't do that. So you need to find something. I changed my major about 5 times. So when I was retired, or when they ended up cutting me and telling me I could play no longer, that was like, 2000, my last year in Miami, Marino's last year. And I came back, and I got a call from a guy by the name of Bob Lobel. You all know Bob Lobel. And Bob said,
legend.
Hey, I got something for you. I do this show. We do a pregame show and a postgame show. It's me and Bob Newmeyer. And he goes, I see something in you, and I want you to be on the pre and the post. Let's give it a shot. And I did Channel 4 Game Day and 5th quarter. And right now it's 2021. I've been doing that for 21 years now because of Bob Lobel. But Bob got me into business to do this. I sucked. You should pull some of those old tapes up. You want to hear my voice, how bad it was at that time. And I remember Bruce Armstrong missed a block, probably the 3rd year I was doing it. And Bob said, hey, these guys aren't your friends anymore. And you got to understand that at one point, you're either friends with them and you just want to hang out with them and they can care less. They're all going to play and you need to do a job, or you can do a job with us and you need to be critical if they're bad and call it like it is. And it was great advice. I did it that time, and I ripped Armstrong for missing those 2 blocks up in Buffalo, and he almost killed me at the rack when I saw him out that one night, 2 nights later. But that was the toughest part, man, making that adjustment, because obviously I still had a ton of friends. I had a lot of good friends on this team. And when you're here for 9 or 10 years, you have a lot of great relationships with those guys that were still playing well, past that. The Teddy Brewskis, the Willie McGinnis, who I'll still talk to, Teddy Johnson, one of my favorite players, Curtis Martin. And it's hard to rip guys when, especially Drew. And I'm a big Drew guy. When it was Drew and Tom, hey, I voted for Drew. And boy, did I get that sucker wrong. And we still laugh about it, all 3 of us at this time. So it's funny how everything sort of evolves after that and how it all comes to be. But Bob Lobel gave me my crack. And I never had interest in doing radio or TV. I never thought that those guys were good or that it mattered. But when it did, I remember listening to WEI after Drew got hurt and his finger, and he had the pin in his finger.
Yep.
And I got to start, and it was against San Francisco that week. And I was driving around after practice one day, and EEI was the only sports station, and they had fucking Ted Sarandis on at night. And they're never going to win a game with this backup. I can tell you that right now. And Ted was going on and on. And then 5th quarter came when I went to the podium. And I said, I'd like to thank Ted Sarandis. He could stick it where the sun don't shine. This is after the San Francisco game. We went to the playoffs. And my dad goes, oh, no, you didn't say that. He was just right behind there. But that stuck with me. And don't tell me that these guys don't listen to the media, don't listen to sports radio, don't read Barstool, don't go on their phones. I didn't have none of this stuff when I grew up. or when we were playing. There was no cell phone. When I played, there was no internet. We couldn't do any of this shit. I mean, I'd be out of league in 2 years if it was happening.
Right. When you were playing, you would sometimes get like an angry like telegram, something like Western Union, maybe delivered on horseback or
yes,
something.
Yes. You know what? Mail to the stadium. You have boxes of it, positive and negative mail.
Oh yeah, but people would lose their minds over shit that was said on sports radio, and I mean, I listen to Felger and Maz. Generally speaking, I'm not doing 20 hours a week, but sometimes I sit there and I'm just aghast at the stuff that they claim that they believe is true and how everything.
You don't believe it, Jerry. You know it. They stirred up. What makes it good? 2 former beat writers that covered the beat. Tony was on a baseball beat forever. Mike did the Patriots beat when I was there and after me and through the whole Brady Bledsoe transition. And they know what pisses people off and what makes people listen. And
really I went up against those guys for 2 years and they were the Death Star. And I would sit there and I'd marvel at their numbers and more power to them. We were number 2 for 8 quarters. I'm relatively proud of that, but they're geniuses at what they do. And I feel like in your case, you're telling it what you really feel like your opinions, the things that come out of your mouth are in fact your opinions, as opposed to, all right, what's gonna press buttons across the board here, and what's gonna make people tune in and be outraged the way I am, as I now relate to you, how they just pull fake opinions out of their asses. It's crazy. Genius. Yeah,
it's crazy because I think our morning show is very planned out. Toucher and Rich, it's very segmented. They do a lot of interviews, a lot of bits, a lot of fart court. Like, it doesn't matter if Patriots won the Super Bowl. They're gonna do an hour of fart court on a Monday because someone ripped ass on Sunday, and they're gonna break it down. And we have a great intro, and I think we're a good medium between them and then Felger and Maz. Felger and Maz, it's 4 hours of sports. When they go off topic and do one of those like, hey, Mike, we're going to ask you about the 10 movies. That's like the most brilliant segment, but they won't do enough of that. Murray wants to do more. Jim Murray, I think Jim Murray and Hardy are 2 of the most like, I don't want to say talented guys at the station, but
I love Hardy.
Those freaking guys. Hardy does all the bits. He does all their music. He's doing Lithium in the mornings. He's doing,
he's on Sirius XM. I didn't even know that till I heard one day. It's like, here's Hardy's playlist. I'm like, how many guys are named Hardy? And I recognize the voice, and he's crazy talented and versatile. I told Murray one time, I said, I respect you guys because I one time listened to, before you went to the first commercial on a Monday afternoon at 2, you came on and you said the Patriots aren't good. It's a down year for the NFL. Brady hides all the mistakes. The defense is terrible. I said, Jim, as God is my witness, it was the day after they beat the Falcons to win the Super Bowl. And I'm still talking about it. Like the fact that you actually are able to say that the Super Bowl champions actually suck. And he just kind of did the palms up, shrug shoulder. Yeah, what are you gonna do? We're all playing our character.
Hey, we were 1-3. We were 1-3 not too many months ago, and they wanted to, like, is this Belichick done? Is this the end of Bill? And listen to them now. Now they're in a certain tier. They rank them, but they know how to piss you off. They know how to make you listen. They know how to make you never turn the channel.
And the fact that people buy into it and like spew their opinions as if they're accurate. But I want to say, circling back briefly to your career, there's one guy that you, probably the most talented athlete you ever threw passes to, and he's on with us right now, and he's got the video to prove better than Ben Coates, better than Terry Glenn. I mean, you were dialing up absolute dimes to this guy who was hauling them in. And this was where, at the Lobster Trap?
This was at the Lobster Trap on your wife's 40th birthday, I'm pretty sure.
That's what's great about me, Jerry. Wherever you go, it's all about football. It could be 12 o'clock at night. Now that
was like 1 a.m.
That's in a crushed shell parking lot. Look at the feet. You got to understand the type of footing you have. I'm not overstriding. I kept the feet under me, shoulder width apart, bounce on your toes.
True professional.
Just throw those dimes.
So and with the absolute way, like when you were checking down to him, you didn't throw off balance. Like you bladed your body and you kept the perfect inverted C as you.
You got to understand too. You're dealing with guys that are parking cars who don't have the great what do you call dexterity to where, you can catch the ball in their fingertips. So you kind of got to lay it in there. You can't wrinkle it. So I babied the ball a little bit for Big Nick. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So people understand, what is your relationship, you two? How in God's green earth were you throwing passes to Nick Fasoli in a crushed shell parking lot on the Cape?
Good question. We love the Cape. My wife grew up, our second house is in Pocasset down on Buzzards Bay. We go down every summer. Our favorite spot down there is the Lobster Trap. Dan and Dave do a fantastic job. For the people who know what the Lobster Trap was 20 years or 30 years ago when I started going down, it was a shithole. You bring your own beer. It was hot. It was sweaty inside. It was dirty. These guys took that and took it to another level. Mm-hmm. The cuisine, if you want the best seafood on the Cape, you go to Lobster Trap in Bourne. These guys crush it. Best drinks. They have a great seafood market there. And we would just go in every weekend. I call ahead. They're great people that work there. Dave busts his employees' balls pretty good. My daughter ended up working there for a summer. I said, hey, she needs a job. And he hired her and her friend. And the rest is history. And I met all these guys. But it's always the same people when you go there. And that's the greatest thing about Bourne. You go down to Harwich, go down to Chatham and all that. It's always different people, tourists. You go to Nantucket or the Vineyard. That's why I like the Cape. Just get over the bridge. Best thing too, Jerry, right over the bridge, 1 mile to the right, and you're there. You don't have to go down that damn elbow.
2 seconds down the street. And one thing is funny that was, I think, 2017, Zoe. And then I went to school. And I started listening to your show more. Obviously, I knew who you were, but I got into EEI more, and I started listening to you more. And then I went to college for communications, and I was radio and production.
That's awesome.
And then I ended up also cutting and working your YouTube page for NBC Sports Boston before I was at Barstool.
Oh, see, that's awesome. And see, we get a lot of these requests too. Like when we've gotten big over the years at the Sport Hub, probably like 20 emails a day from kids wanting to get into the business. I'm like, you sure you really want to get into this business? But it really is about who you know, what break you get.
Yep.
Like great story. Like, I don't know if you guys listen to the show now and hear about this kid, Tyler Milliken. Yep. Kid's like one of these baseball mutes, savant nerd, analytical kid. And we said, there's something different about this kid. And it works with us. And we ended up hiring him full time. He was in working for nothing, just schlepping, breaking down audio, this and that. Now he's full time with us. He did my expense report for the season today, sent it to the boss. He's like, who the hell is this kid that sent this? I said, that's my guy, assistant producer, Tyler Milliken. But Tyler, you've got to get a break in this business. And it's about who you know, what you know. Same thing with coaching or anything else in life. Right. Everybody's asking you to write recommendation letters, all that, this, that, and shit. So,
well, as a doing the Patriots, broadcasting too, like you and Bob Sochi and Nick, pencil this in. We should get Sochi on this show. I mean, there's no way Zolak can deliver him. He's like he's so above Zoe's level, but maybe we can reach out to his people. I don't know, but he's cool. He's been nice to me. You guys followed a couple of legends too. I mean, like Gil Santos and Gino Cappelletti were the sound of my childhood, like into my adulthood. And then I will never forget that later part of their careers where it went from like WBZ or whoever the hell was doing the games to WBCN, the Rock Radio Network. It scarred me for life to have to listen to these two legends reading ads for Trojan condoms.
Right, but to hear Gil's voice, boom, in FM, and that was Jonathan Kraft's vision, man. And that's Jonathan's deal with music. I had no clue who these two guys were here when I got here. Even though I'm a football guy, I didn't know who Gino Cappelletti was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's local. I get that. And the Patriots weren't like in the Super Bowl all the time or anything.
I would never be doing games if it wasn't for these two guys. I think when they were 78, God bless me if I'm still doing this job. I just turned 54. If I'm doing this when I'm 78 or 80, I told my wife, take me out back, put 2 bullets right in the back of my head and that. But they brought me in, and it was like Felix and Oscar. It really was. And the stories I have with these two guys, they allowed me to do a live mic from the sideline. So they put me on a sideline, and I had a live mic on my belt that I would press if I saw it. I'm like, balls out. Gil's like, God damn it. Do not ever press that button and step over me again. I set the scene. Gino says something. Then you bring in your commentary every once in a while. And then we would end up going out to breakfast on the road. And Gil would be like, I want cornflakes. Okay. I'm Gil Santos. I'm a typewriter at WBZAM. I'm the head writer. I ordered cornflakes. You brought me fucking Special K. So I want you to go back and bring your manager out and try to him to tell me this is not cornflakes with strawberries. And Gino knew everybody. Gino's stories about Namath, the Bachelor's 3, and that pad they had down in New York City. Yeah, Gino heyday with all those guys.
Banging like cocktail waitresses, some two shores and stuff.
Oh yeah. And I heard all the stories. And my favorite thing was not the games. It was going out to eat every night, the night before the game, which so see myself and Mark Capello do now. But to go out with Gil and Gino to hear all those stories. And I did that for 3 years. Then I did the games with Gil when Gino retired, and then Gil was done. And it was Bob and I. But the funny thing with Bob and I, Bob did Navy football on the radio for 16 years. I did Navy TV for 6 years. But the Navy press box is so big, so the radio is down low, the TV's up high. Bob and I never crossed paths in the Navy press box for 6 years. And then when I got the gig and Gil retired, we're doing all these things. And I'm like, wait a minute, this guy does Navy? And Bob had the best resume, that he sent to our station, and credit Rick Radzik for seeing it. And rest is history. Shit, Bob and I have called 5 Super Bowls? Oh, hold on a second, real quick. That's one of the benefits of doing this job, Derek. See, yeah, that's one of the best things about doing the gig.
Oh, damn. Look at that hardware.
That's the first one.
And those aren't those little mini ones that they give to like family and friends.
No. Nope. Save this. Which one's this one? Oh, that's the big one. Hold on. Oh, here's the Atlanta one. You'll love this one, Jerry. 283 diamonds.
283 diamonds. Yep.
Absolutely.
The hacked off Arthur Blank to no end that they chose that. Yep.
That's the big one with all 6 trophies on it.
Okay, that's the cover of this book.
That's the cover of the book.
Just to get into
you have a book.
Plug.
I got these. That's the greatest thing about it. But
and you know the story about the guy who was trying to sell fake Brady rings, and it just broke this week. He's facing 92 years in jail. 92 years is not enough.
Yeah.
Enough of like these a-holes trying to like steal the Patriots treasured like mementos, whether it's like Putin and Mr. Kraft's ring or Brady's jersey being taken by a Mexican reporter after Super Bowl 51. Like, enough already. It's time that we I think the death penalty for people who try to mess with. I'm psyched to have you on. I'm also psyched that you and Bob Sochi don't have to read condom ads the way your predecessors did. But
rib condoms are the best. I mean, for her.
Yeah, you turn them inside out for you. So the game against the Colts, because that's ostensibly what we came here to talk about. Did you get the sense, because you were in the stadium, did you get the sense that the Patriots were just not as fired up, just not as energized, like pick a word, that they just weren't as emotionally prepared as the Colts were? Yeah,
I mean, it's funny. I played for 10 years. I've been covering a team now for over 20. I get to a stadium and I can't tell the damn difference in the pregame watching it. Like, oh, I think this is a great warm-up. Next thing you know, they get smoked that day. Or I said, oh, wow, this is a real shitty warm-up. Then boom, they come out flying. They weren't ready to go from the get-go. I think the offensive line hurt them first couple series, the stupid penalties. Then you get down 7, and it's like the Cardinals saying, you get a punt block. Not only does a punt get blocked, gets taken back for a fucking touchdown. Next thing you know, it's 14-0. And at that point, everything becomes one-dimensional. It's a really cool stadium. I like Lucas Oil. Our vantage point to call the game from there is not that great, so we missed some stuff. But we're up high. It's like 9th floor at the Garden. Sometimes where's the puck? Oh shit, where's the puck? Now, but it's a weird fan base. When I say weird fan base, the stadium was packed. It was sold out, but it's very family-oriented. And if you've ever gone to like a St. Louis Cardinals baseball game, or back when the Rams were in St. Louis, a lot of families in the stands sitting on their hands. And I look at Bob doing the thing, and I said, not once did the fan base stand up. You'll never see that at Foxborough, a big game. They're on your feet the whole time. People yelling, sit down. When we do the radio calls during the week. Oh, this guy wouldn't sit down in front of us. And we were yelling. I'm like, yeah, it's a fucking big game. Why would he ever sit down? You didn't get that there, but it was loud. And I think they were pumping. I think they're still pumping its music there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Because so many people try to say that's just a conspiracy theory that's not been confirmed. You know what? Because this is a franchise.
That's an excuse.
Yeah. This is a franchise back in 2003 got the rules changed.
Yeah.
Because the Patriots had an advantage by being a more physical defense. So I'm supposed to believe that the NFL would look into it and say, you know what? They really were piping in crowd noise. So therefore we're going to punish them. Or they would say, look, Polian, whatever you need, like we'll give you Jim Irsay, whatever you need. We'll. So there's no way that I buy into that theory that that's
not why they lost. They it's not they couldn't deal with noise. That had nothing to do with it. I mean, there's holding calls, guys downfield, stupid lining up offside. What do you tell me? Brandon King lined up offsides, and that was too loud, and he didn't know where he was. On a PAT field goal block. Absolutely. We were at SoFi. We were at SoFi Stadium earlier with the Chargers. They pumped noise in because it's a bad fan base. That was the loudest stadium, and you could tell nobody was cheering, but it was so loud. The production. It's like NBA jam quality, DJ on the mic the whole time. So the newer stadiums and bad markets, you're going to get a lot of that. It feels like you're at a baseball, AAA baseball game.
Yeah, they've gotten like feedback and stuff, like loops, like just, audio errors or whatever. So good. I'm glad that someone is actually on these road games, which I am not, agrees with me. It just feels like the Pats, and I think you've picked up on this way even more than I have, that anytime they lose, it's never just, this stuff happens. I mean, Tennessee lost, and, we've seen, Pittsburgh tie freaking the Lions, or friggin' the Cardinals, like who were 10-2, lose to the Lions. It feels like anytime the Patriots lose a game, it's a moral failing on their part. Like people need to be. I get my phone blows up with. I would bench Jacoby Myers right now because he dropped a go route that was through his hands, but it would have been a good catch had he made it. Dante Hightower misses a tackle. He's terrible. I just kind of feel like maybe I'm trying to polish a turd here, but it was just a game where a lot of things went wrong. They made unforgivable, unforced mental errors. They gave up 10 points on special teams, and the final score was a 10-point difference.
I think that's why the coach was so pissed off after the game too. It wasn't about the offense and defense. 10 fucking points on special teams. You're never going to win that game. I don't care. And then you turn it over twice on picks. Mac's first pick was a bad one. He didn't see the guy. Well, that's a great play by Darius Leonard. He undercuts it. It's a Brewski play where read the quarterback's eyes. I drop back. I get you. You're going to get those. It's not going to be perfect with Mac, but I mean, he's been really, really good this year. I've talked to a bunch of people about it. I've talked to Josh about it, a little bit with Mac too. I think he's handling so much more than Tom handled, his first year. I mean, when Charlie was here, they set the record for passes behind the line of scrimmage. They go empty with this kid. I see him reset the mic. I see him change plays. I see him readjust formations. 23, I was closing my eyes in the Indianapolis Hoosier, in the RCA Dome, just throwing darts when I got AFC Player of the Week. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. This kid does, though. And I trust that because I talked to the linemen, too. And some of the other guys, like, this kid's good. This kid's really good. He's 23. It's only, his 13th fucking game or whatever it is. To run 7 in a row. And, a lot of people we were feeling sorry for ourselves this week. The reason they were feeling sorry for themselves, I think there was some bitching going on that we're exhausted. We just ran off 7 in a row. We played on a Monday. Now all of a sudden we got to travel home and we're on a short bye. So you feel like you get screwed by the league when the league comes out with some of these schedules. Like, this isn't a real bye for us because they had to come back in on that Friday. And it's not a real bye week where you have 6 days off. We had 2 days off. We got to come back in. Then we got another day and a half off. That's not a real fucking bye week, So that's the feeling sorry for themselves.
But when you say these things, do you get criticized as like like you're carrying water for the team that you just told?
I mean, that's real though. I mean, I've lived it. You live for the bye. When you see the bye week, like, you plan to go away. Like, I'm going to book a ticket. Like back in the day in the 90s, you had to book a ticket with a travel agent. They'd come back. It's not like, okay, I could click on JetBlue and it's a refundable ticket and I'll just scroll down. No, you plan that out. You look forward to that, especially when your team's not good. We were not good. So our bye weeks were great. It's a vacation within a vacation. just to get the hell away from it. And I don't care what people think or say. That's the truth. I mean, I know a lot about what's going on. I think I know where the bodies are buried. I know how the same offense I ran here, zero out slot, double tosser. Tom, what do you like? Sticks, slot, diner, all that. I know all the tag routes. It's all Charlie's offense. Now, Josh and Billy O'Brien have taken it to another level, and ultimately Brady took it to even another level. But this kid freaking handled everything. And I thought Stidham was good in his first preseason too, where they gave him a lot of gun, no huddle type shit. But I never saw this coming to be, with the Cam stuff, because I put a lot into who's first in practice. We're down there for every rep in the off season, and Cam was not good. He was airmailing a lot of stuff, but he's first in order at every drill. He's first guy out at every game. And the way I was brought up with Parcells, with Pete Carroll, with Jimmy Johnson, with Belichick now, starters play first. So you always assume Cam's a starter. And I think we're all floored when we got that news Monday that, wow, he's cut and it's Mac's team.
Right.
Even though we felt you felt inside that Mac beat him out, but they're gonna let this ride a little bit till he implodes, then they're gonna give it to Mac. And no, Bill had the balls to go and say it's his team. We're ready to go.
And so with respect to this game by Jones, am I just, being way too Pollyanna-ish, which is a word that I just invented, and I'll never be able to get those syllables out of my mouth again, to say there is a benefit to him having these 3 crap series in a row where he could have bookended the halftime with a score and then a score. And what they got was interception, halftime, interception, and then a turnover on downs. And yet he bounced back and then put on 3 straight scoring drives after that. And my take was, all right, it sucks, those interceptions. You don't want those. But it was his first red zone interception of the season.
Yeah.
And he bounced back from it. And I think quarterback is a lot like we hear about cornerbacks.
Right.
You get burned. What's the most important thing to do? Learn from it. Don't turtle.
Short-term memory.
Yeah. And it seemed like that's what he did. It's one thing to be a great quarterback when everything's clicking, but I think it was an important part of his growth.
Yeah.
Devin McCourty.
I think we overanalyzed.
Had the best rookie season of a cornerback I've ever seen on this team. And then his second year got burned by a bunch of players in a row, like Brandon Marshall had a great, and he just lost his confidence. And I feel like that I appreciated seeing Jones not have a Zach Wilson implosion. He bounced back. Am I just selling myself too much on this guy, or is that a fair?
No, I think it's justifiable. You get a lot of that, especially with the calls oh, Max sucked. I can't believe he had that type of game. Well, what you saw in week 13, 14, he did against the Cowboys. Threw the pick 6 against the Cowboys, came back, hit Bourne on a touchdown.
Yep. Very next play.
This kid doesn't have the greatest arm. It's not a cannon. It's not Josh Allen, but he's got moxie. And there's certain other tangibles, I think, that make up for the position. And that thing was 20-0. And I've been on teams, especially Dan Marino, his last game in the playoffs against Jacksonville. We lost 64-7, I think, or 63-7. And Danny just cashed it in. Look at Tom the other night. Tom looked like shit in the second half because he lost all his weapons and he's sulking and he's down. He's throwing tablets and he's just inaccurate. Gronkowski had his head up his ass, all that stuff. And it starts to consume you. It didn't consume him. He kept fighting. He went to goddamn to kill Harry on a deep post, He doesn't care who's out there. And that's the best thing I think about having a young guy, because you can tell, okay, if the read takes me there, I'm throwing it there. And I'm good with him. I'll take him over Carson Wentz any day of the week. That guy's $33.5 million against the cap, that pud.
All right, but before I let Nick take the next question, while we're talking about Carson Wentz, do we have any idea, and I need to know, what did Matthew Judon say to him about his reproductive system? Did he do the thing about hey, what's the capital of Thailand? Bangkok. Or did he question his teeth?
I don't care what he said. I think it's sad Wentz took it there. It's going to question my ability to reproduce. Look at him, man. They didn't even trust you to throw the ball to the end of the game, And it is what it is, man. Judon's a badass. I like him. I think he's a stand-up guy. Former Raven. He's got a little edge to him, which we need. We need guys with an edge. probably twisted his nuts and said, you're the P word or the C, I don't know, whatever he called him. And I can't believe I got us pointing. Yeah,
Brennan has a man.
Stop Kevin Garnett pointing at him. If you're gonna point, go point in his face and do something about it. That's why I love fucking Kyle Duggar. Because you want to headbutt me, it's gonna be on. I'll rip your fucking helmet off and I'll try and shove it up your ass.
Yeah, Nick, chime in here, please. I'm sorry.
Obviously, you have a different relationship with him than we do, but we didn't really see it until probably the end of the 2019 season. But now, obviously, Brady's on terror watch right now, throwing the iPads and everything, but going over to the Saints sidelines, telling them to go fuck themselves.
Yep.
Have you always been like that?
Yeah. Especially against the Steelers and at the Anthony Smith games. Tom's more of a competitor than anybody knows. He talks so much shit out there. And like we're sitting here talking about Mac being 23 now. We got a lot of years to talk about him with that.
Mm-hmm.
Tom doesn't have a big window. He knows it. So, like, this is their year again. And it's probably one more, and that's it. I talked to him about twice a month. Yeah. And he's been great to me. He's always kept in touch. Anything I ever need, text him, talk to him, boom, he's right on it. Takes good care of my kid with stuff. And we got a lot of good Tom gear here in the house.
You guys
does he ever ask about me?
Never, Jerry.
You know what? I don't need the truth in that situation.
Right.
All right. I'm clearly just pandering to you to please just toss me a bone.
I think part of the problem, you were on with Kirk and Jerry, right? When you asked him, you told him happy birthday. Was that the day?
No, it was my birthday, and it was on with Callahan and Dennis. And
I think the fact
the first time I'd ever talked to him. And talk about a first syllable basis. He said, "Happy birthday, Jer."
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday. And that's the sound that's going to come out of the tunnel of light as I shuffle off this mortal coil and head on into my great reward. So I figured, it was only 2013. I figured by then he would have still be talking about me. But
I give him credit. And I think a lot of people that play with him and you get the stories is no matter who you are, he always makes you feel like you're the most important person in the room. Like the young kids, it takes time to know their names. Like, holy shit, that guy remembered my name. He asked me how my family's doing. Like, saw him after the Tampa game, and this is after we're looking at our watches, and Bill was in there with him for 35 minutes. He comes out, so how you doing? We're sitting there talking, and I'm like, you have to do that. His family's still waiting there, but he takes the time to make everybody around him. If you've put it in time with him and made him feel important, he's always the same guy. That's never changed. And that dude has more right than anybody to tell people to piss off and screw. And I don't need you.
I don't disagree.
It's crazy. I'll text him tonight after this. He'll be back to me and get back to me in 2 minutes.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Has he given you guys any of the new Brady merch that's going to be the next Jordan brand?
Have not got any of that. I think the TB12 stuff. I like the TB12 shit. I think that's
I think that shit's going to take off with him. I think he will become the next Jordan brand.
Yeah. Oh, he is. That's it. I think he's passionate about that. Everybody says, he's going to own the team, coach a team, run for office. Not so the case.
And are the analogies between his first season as a starter and Mac Jones' first season as a starter, do you think they're overstated? Because, the numbers are eerily similar.
They're similar. It's so different now than 2001. The game is so different. There was never much sub. You played base defense back then. Now we're substituting 5-6 guys in every snap. And that's the one thing I know is not calling games last year in person. We had to call them off a damn monitor. I'm watching the sideline. Okay, Bob, here we go. They're going sub. We're going four safeties, 2 safeties. They're going 5 DBs here. Okay, here comes Barmore. Okay, it's Barmore and Carl Davis right now. I could see all that happening, transpiring in between plays as they're sending guys. Couldn't see that last year, and they did not do that in 2001. So I don't think it's fair to compare it. 21 years difference. It's fun to do numbers-wise, but game is totally different. Rules are different. Brady could have got his – remember the Brady run in Buffalo when he got his helmet popped off? It's disqualification now if you do that, Yeah.
Well, and the time that we have you, Zoe, and you've been really generous, and we don't want to take up too much of your time. The last 2 weeks for the Patriots, I think have established the best gift that you can have as a Pats fan, which is coaches that you hate. And Harbaugh has been a gift, but the last 2 weeks you're looking at, Sean McDermott, who clearly established himself as like a wannabe hardo guy, and now Frank Reich, who I think really has a legitimate claim to saying that he occupies at least 1 or 2 monopoly spaces in Belichick's head. Like when Belichick is calling out T.Y. Hilton like by name, which he doesn't rarely, he very rarely does. I think that's a way of saying like, okay, it's ugly between these two guys. And then the Buffalo thing was
I don't think it's between him and Frank. I played behind Frank in Maryland. Frank's a really good dude, really good coach. I think he's steady. You watch him on the sideline, no expression. That guy up in Buffalo, all he wants to do is play the Patriots, and he can't help himself, and the head's going to explode like Heat Miser. I call him Papa Smurf. So Papa Smurf's coming down. Tell Smurfette to get the dinner ready. Belichick's Gargamel, and he's going to have something up his sleeve for him. You talk about having rent in someone's head. You own all the real estate in that dude's head. But Frank's a good dude, good coach. He's 4-0 against Bill.
Yeah.
4-0 against Belichick. There aren't many guys. Coughlin had a pretty good record at the time, but I don't think anybody's 4-0 like this guy has been.
Yeah. And when he's like going out of his way to let it be known, but we call that the Patriots special. He's just trying to get out the tea bag and they're on Belichick's head. So if those two teams meet in the playoffs, I think it's going to be fantastic. Plus you've got the Judon Wentz thing, and then you've got Duggar against Michael Pittman. Right. And I think that's great. I think it's great for the league. The Bills, what do we expect for this week? I mean, I loved that the Pats played bully ball. I wish they kind of had gone jumbo against the Colts, at least tried that to take the air out of the stadium, but they've established that they can just go big on Buffalo and they're not capable of stopping it. Is that what you expect this week? Or
Bills aren't fast. Like the defense for Indy's fast. They're athletic, they're fast, they're not as big, but I think Buffalo's bigger up front. Buffalo's got two good safeties in Hyde and Poyer. I don't think they're good at corner without Tre'Davious White. I think Tre'Davious White not being there hurts them. They don't have balance. And I think that's, you watch the last 2 weeks, I think, and I've talked to Coach Belichick about that this week. They've run a little bit more with Allen and Singletary. So he's trying to create balance, even though there's no balance. They want to throw it. They're a team that's built for speed. Cole Beasley not vaccinated. He's out for this game because he tested positive. So he's in a different re-entry. There's no way he could come back for this game. So that helps us. I don't know. I still think it's a rock fight till the fourth quarter. But again, it comes down to coaching. And I think you're so much in their heads that's the difference between the Colts and you. The Colts controlled the tempo on the line of scrimmage, and Frank was good doing that. Most coaches, you get in that mode. If you pay a quarterback $34 million, we got to throw the ball. We got to force the ball and throw it. He didn't do it. He's like, I don't care if Carson throws 5 passes. We're just not going to do it. And that's sort of what Bill did up in Buffalo. You weren't hiding anything. I still think they're going to win by a touchdown. Patriots will win by a touchdown, and you control everything. Win out, and we'll see what happens. I still think it's us in Kansas City in the end. Where we play that game, we don't know yet. Yeah. But think about it. As shitty as we played Saturday night, which was bad. That's our worst game in the last 3 months. Fucking Chargers just win that overtime game. We're still the number 1 seed. As bad as it was. As bad as Saturday night was, we still got back into the number 2 seed because Harbaugh's a damn moron. And there's nothing you could slice that coach of the year. I'm tired of coach of the year. I got their back. I got theirs. That hard-on's going to go for it every damn time. So I hope we play Baltimore in the playoffs and he has a 4th and 1 because guess what? He ain't kicking. Load the line of scrimmage and go kick his ass.
I friggin' love it. Nick, would you have anything to chime in here before we let Scott get back to his life?
No, we kind of covered it all. I mean,
all right, beautiful. Well, think about it. A year ago at this time, the Pats were in the throes of a 3-game losing streak, and Brady was starting to play his best ball, and it was nobody wanted to come here. You're never going to get anyone to sign. Felger and Maz were debating whether or not to Belichick should be fired or whatever. And I was sitting there going, "Oh, what was us? They lost the game. They're first in 2 months, like you said, and now they've dropped all the way down to the 2nd seed."
Yeah, I just think it's great. Like you said, Bill and Frank Reich own real estate, like the coach of Buffalo's head. That's about the 7th time you mentioned Felger and Mass. So they own real estate in your head, Jerry.
Oh, they do. But you know what? If
right, Nick?
If they didn't exist, I would have to invent them. But I'm straight up
not a Felger and Mass guy.
Yeah, straight up a Zolak and Bertrand guy. But thanks for everything. So your Christmas plans real quick? Well, you've got to work the day.
I work Sunday, so I'm not going anywhere. We're going to be home, enjoy it with the family. It's my dog over there. You can see him right there. See, he's very lazy.
Oh, that's a good looking animal.
Yeah, big Christmas tree here. We got 15-footer, so we're ready.
Love it.
God damn. All right. You know what? That's it. I'm dog napping that
All
pooch.
right.
That's a good looking critter. Well, thanks very much. You know, when Nick and I started this little project, you were one of the first people we wanted to have. I'm glad we finally got you on. We'll work on Sochi, but you can't possibly deliver that. You don't have that kind of.
We'll get him. We'll find a way to get him.
Okay.
Sorry I couldn't get with you guys earlier in the year. Still some stuff. So, but glad I got on with you now.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. It's the first time we've done this. Hopefully it's not the last. Thank you very much, Scott Zolak. Thanks for everyone for listening. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Bang that like button. Remember to comment, and we will talk to you very soon. Oh, well, that was a blast talking to Scott Zolak, as well you would assume it is. But now we get the chance to talk to some real experts in the field. Right, Nick? We've got a couple of voicemails, but we've got to kind of keep it short. We're on a short week here, and it's the holidays, so we've got just 2 of them. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, just 2 this week. The first one, he didn't leave his name, but here we go.
Hey, Jerry. I love the podcast and all the work that you've been doing so far. Keep up the great work. My question is, if the Patriots today, as I'm sending this, played the Buccaneers at home again, would the Patriots end up winning this game? And would it be similar to when the Pats played them this season and lost? Thank you.
Oh, yeah. First of all, the game that they gave them back in week 4 that they gave Tampa was like a surprise. Like I don't want to say a godsend because it's still an L, but I mean, the fact that they went up against the Super Bowl champions with the weight of the world, not just on the Patriots, but on a rookie quarterback playing in just his 4th game. Like the fact that it came down to Nick Folk clanging a field goal off the upright, to me felt like, God, I hate moral victories. I think I've established I prefer our victories to be immoral and actual, because there's no tiebreaker in the NFL playoffs that says, okay, conference head-to-head division, moral victories. Like that doesn't count. Oh, unless you're the Lions, right? Then you get those moral victories all the way to the number 1 pick, which they will then completely screw up in Lions tradition. But yeah, I think if the Patriots of October, November, and then early December play the current Bucs at home, I think they win. The ones that just messed it up against the Colts, no, I don't think they do, because there was so many unforced errors on there, the kind of things they were doing earlier in the season. And it's weird that after, a bye week that they regressed in such a way that they were doing false starts, a delay a game, offsides, like, all this nonsense. Michael Onwenu, like a false start, 3rd and goal from the 2, like that's the thing that was costing them earlier in the year. So give me the Patriots that played against, say, Atlanta, basically an error-free game, and I think they beat those Bucs. Am I completely out of my mind?
No, I agree with you completely. And what I'm thinking is, obviously, look at what Tom just did, and he got shut out by the Saints.
Yep.
I think if we played them again in the second half of the season right now, the Saints defense, I'll give it to them. They play fast. Their offense does not stack up against the New England offense, I don't think, in the slightest of ways. So, I mean, you put our defense that have rounded the corner in the second half of the year and the offense that has come into full swing, I think we could shut out the Bucs. I mean, the Saints did it, and they have Taysom Hill. They kicked 3 field goals to win the game. Are you kidding me?
Right. And they're without Leonard Fournette for the foreseeable future. They just lost Chris Godwin or whatever. So, and as Zoe just told us a couple of minutes ago, like Brady just kind of lost his shit, and nobody loves Brady the way Zolak does, or me or you.
Yeah.
But
he's never done that in New England, and that's because it was Belichick. But the Tampa is his show. 100%.
And you know what? I'll be curious to see what the percentages are this week, because I think a lot of that stuff is, these win probability stats and probability of matchups and playoff stuff. I think a lot of it is just kind of, wizardry, and it doesn't really meet any kind of scientific standard. But as of last week, the number one possibility for matchups in the Super Bowl was Patriots versus Bucks.
Yep.
If it's not number one right now, it's probably damn close to it. So bring it on. As we said last week, it will shatter the universe if that's the case, but there's nobody else I'd rather see them play, just because they established back at the beginning of October they don't fear that team. They're not intimidated by that team. And Mac Jones is a better quarterback than he was the week that he outplayed Brady.
That's right. And I was trying to say this earlier, but if you look back over the last couple of years, whenever we had a bye, coming off of a bye, we play terribly. I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it's negative.
I know that the winning percentage is less than it is in general in a non-bye week. And I think it's kind of a rest versus rust thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when you, get like, in the NBA playoffs or whatever, if you sweep your series and you play a team that just went down to the wire in a 7-game series, you tend to come out sloppy and low energy. And I think, and this is going to sound like excuse making. It isn't, but I think that's kind of what happened with this Colts game. The Colts were amped, and yes, they had a bye week, but this was their frigging Super Bowl, and they were like wired for sound. And we talked about it in the preamble to having Zolak on, but I think that bit the Patriots in the ass. Like they came out with a certain energy and couldn't counter the urgency that the Colts had. And you get a week off in the playoffs, the good Lord willing, and then get a week off between the championship game and the Super Bowl, then all bets are off. And I would right now, I would welcome a Pats Buccaneers.
Oh yeah, me too.
Super Bowl scenario, and I will not fear it. I will not shy from it.
All right, so now we got our good friend Steve from Weymouth on the line.
Steve from Weymouth again, 2 for 2. All right, let's see what my boy from Columbian Square has to say.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Steve from Weymouth here. Watched the game on Saturday. Wasn't very pleased. We made a pretty good comeback. I thought we were going to take it, but they got that JT guy. He's a good player. He's a stud. I think he's going to get some MVP votes. Just wanted to pick your brain on what do you think caused us to just have that kind of mishap in the first half when we went down 17-0. I think we had a block punt. You never see that. With old Bill. So just curious on your thoughts on what you thought went wrong and how you think they're going to correct it. Steve from Weymouth, guys. I'll see you later.
All right, thanks, Steve. I will see you at Warren's and we'll discuss this over a pint. It was one of these things where you couldn't have had more things go wrong. And as we talked about with Zoe, like the team could have just completely turtled from there. The block punt, and this is their third of the year. And there's no excuse for this team that emphasizes special teams more than any other team in the NFL in terms of money they spend, in terms of roster spots they use, in terms of draft capital that they spend on it to get beaten in special teams. And again, this is the third block punt they've had this year. The second that's been attributed to, and I can never remember his name because he only comes up when he blows a block on punt coverage, punt protection, is Taylani, Giovanni, whatever, I know Gio Rabinisi. I don't know who he is, but he's a full-time special teamer, and he just got his doors blown off for that block. And it's not enough, it's not like they just fell on it and okay, now they get the ball at midfield. That's 7 points, and there's nothing you can do. And then you had Brandon King, another full-time special teamer, jumps offside, giving them a do-over on a missed field goal. There's 10 points. Would you lose the game by 10 points? So I think, that, as Zoe said, that's what had Belichick grinding his teeth at the podium after the game, because those are unforced errors. There's no excuse for that. So,
well, you say Belichick at the podium, and this is not to Steve's call right now, but today, did you see the video that surfaced? The Grinch's heart grew a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We apologized. And here's the thing, I'm not prepared for a world where Belichick is gracious to the report. It's like, what is he? What is he? Pete Carroll? And he actually, you know what? It's worse. He's Sean McGuire from Good Will Hunting. He actually used the term, "It's not your fault." I thought he was going to come down off the podium and just start like, "It's not your
hugging
fault.
people.
It's not your fault." Like, like, okay, I don't want that. But I think it's maybe because two things. One, it's Christmas time. You know, he's in the spirit of the season. But two, this is a team that's in a good situation. I think he's feeling a little bit extra gracious because a year ago at this time, disaster was befalling him. You know, he was the laughingstock of the world, didn't have a future quarterback that he could rely on. And now he's checked so many boxes that, okay, he's the number 2 seed. It's not as good as being the 1 seed that he was the week before, but I think it's just he's feeling good about where this team is in general. Even coming off a bad loss with a lot of inexcusable, unforced errors. I think he just decided to be nice to those ink-stained wretches, those troglodytes, those great unwashed. And I'm one of them. I sometimes go to these press conferences and I sit there before him, but I don't want that. Don Rickles was the greatest insult comic of all time. If you ever watch Roast and you have some appreciation for the roast comics or whatever. He invented the genre. The worst part of Don Rickles' act would be at the end. Sometimes they go, "Hey, but you know what? It's all in good fun. We're just kidding here. Really appreciate you guys. Love you guys." Like, no, I don't want that. Do me now. Yeah. Tell me how I suck. I'm weird looking and I have a terrible voice. And Belichick went there. He went to that Don Rickles level of apologizing for being who he is. No more of that. Bring us back. And then he immediately pivoted to dumping all over T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. Okay. I need him calling out people by name, being ungracious. So bring me back to the insult comic Belichick. If he's not killing reporters with force lightning coming from his fingertips, then that's not the Belichick I wanted. Okay. So to Steve's question though, it was a mess all around. Sometimes in a group dynamic, you just don't have the wherewithal. You're not bringing the level of just firepower that your opponent is. And every mistake the Patriots made cost them dearly. And they straight up got to clean that up for the Bills. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah, I agree. You're not going to get out of New England on the 26th with that type of effort.
Oh, yeah. And I can't imagine that they're going to have a repeat of that. I absolutely cannot. T-shirt and hat game. This is where you establish that, okay, Brady's not here, but we still win the must-win games.
Yep.
And then you guarantee yourself a home game in the postseason, and maybe with some help from, I don't know, Cincinnati in week 17. Maybe you get back to that number 1 seed. But if nothing else, you don't need any help from anybody else to friggin' win the division, which the beginning of the year, we would have jumped at that chance, Nick. Yeah. All right. So wrap it up. What's your Christmas plans? I mean, obviously you're going to be home back with the family, and then you've got a game on the 26th that we have to pay attention to, but you doing anything else?
No, we're getting ready, obviously, for the Patriots on the 26th, and then we are 10 days away officially from the Barstool Arizona Bowl.
God damn.
10 days. The countdown is on.
I still marvel at that. I still cannot believe that this is what we've come to. And you're going to be part of that mix, right? You're flying out?
No, I'm in Boston, so I'm here.
Cool. All right. Well, you and I will get together for sure. But we'll talk between now and then. Let's maybe get together and find some dive bar somewhere, some place with a Schlitz sign out front named after some guy with red brick walls, and some place that look like Moe's from The Simpsons, but Anyway, this is a blast. Want to wish everybody on the show who listens to this, and the people who called in, the people who support this little project, the merriest of Christmases, and especially to the Fasoli family, to you and yours, buddy. And appreciate all the work you put in. And we'll talk this week. All right.
Slancha.
All right. Slancha. Love it.